Hello everyone, it's Chris from C&L Farms Grows, and just wanted to give a little update on what's going on here at the farm. We are just going into June. It's about, I think it's June 11th now, and a lot of things in the field are doing really well. We've got tomatoes and cucumbers and squash, zucchini, a number of crops that are doing really well. And we've taken a little bit of a break on planting in the field because we are changing up how we're going to lay out the garden for next season. So we're just having so many problems with weeds and grass. It just seems like whether we use a back to Eden style or no-till, or we till and then flame weed, the weeds just take over everything. We lost just about all of our onions to the grass because we could not keep up with it. So we just really weren't that happy. So we've decided to go a more raised bed route and try and just make the whole field as weed free as possible. It's a little bit easier to control the weeds within a bed because we're putting plants into that bed and getting the plants back out of that bed rather quickly, so we're on top of that bed all the time. But if we have a 50-foot or 100-foot bed of something, it's going to take weeks. It might take 3 weeks to get to the end of the bed in harvesting, and because we don't have a need to harvest a 100-foot bed or a 50-foot bed at one time. So I think that if we can change our focus and try and work more towards getting rid of the weeds, or not having to deal with the weeds as much, then I think I'll be a little happier. It's really difficult to just garden and farm if you're constantly battling weeds. You don't make any money off of weeds. Weeds do not get harvested and sold. So if you can prevent the weeds as much as possible, then you actually gain time on the farm. So that's our focus. I hope that it works out, and the farm will definitely have a little bit more of a cleaner look, which is what I always strive for. I like to have straight rows. I like to have weed-free paths, and just make it easier for us to farm, so we can continue doing this for a number of years. One of the things that we are actually working on is planting out our blueberries and figs and blackberries for the future. We have a large number of pink lemonade and summer sunset blueberries, I believe that's what they're called, here, that we're going to be planting in field number 1. Field number 1 is basically not going to have vegetables in it anymore. It's going to be blueberries and blackberries. We actually have some additional figs here. I'm not quite sure. I think these are brown turkey fig. I need to find out which variety these are. But these are going down where we had raspberries. The raspberries did not do well, and we lost most of the raspberries. I don't quite understand why, but we did. So all of these figs are going to go there, along with the other figs that we have, which are doing really well. If we move over here, these are the first set of raised beds that we're going to be putting in to the field probably later this evening. Or maybe this weekend, I'm not quite sure, when we have time. The back to Eden garden, not really happy with it. The peppers have taken a long time to actually do anything. It just seems like they just have not grown since I planted them. Almost, I don't know, a month and a half ago. Some of them have gotten a lot bigger further down, but I don't know why. peppers on them already, like this one. But I just don't understand why they have not taken off. We have some okra over here that's doing a lot better. It took a long time for it to actually start growing. I'm very surprised at the amount of time that it took. I don't know if it's nitrogen lockout or what it might be. I just really am not sure what that is, what's causing. The Chinese cabbage is doing really well. It's starting to form the heads. So we should have some nice heads here pretty soon. Just planted out these huckleberries. I don't expect to get anything from them this year, although there are some blossoms on them. There's two varieties of heirloom huckleberries here. Oh wait, there are some huckleberries right there. You can see those. So we'll see if we get anything from these. I hope that they actually make it and we get something next year from them. The rhubarb, I'm really surprised. I kind of expected it to die, but it's doing really well. And we only have 6 plants, well 5 plants, one of them didn't make it. But this is also an heirloom variety of rhubarb. So maybe next year we'll actually have some nice plants. I need to come through here and weed, as you can see. There's some more huckleberries and some tomato plants. They actually have some tomatoes on them finally. Over there. Can't remember the variety. I think it's a yellow or an orange stripe tomato. Not quite sure. But basically right here is where we're going to start placing the beds. They're 4 foot by 8 foot beds. And there's going to be 12 per row. And there'll be 36 inches between each bed for access with the wheelbarrow and just to have enough room to move through. There's going to be a total of 72 beds in this area. So that's 6 rows of 12. The squash is doing really well, as you can see. We have 200 feet of squash here, and we have to pick this every day. It's doing really well. We don't have a lot of bees out here, so it's a little concerning. So I need to look at getting some bees in the near future, maybe next year. I mean, there's only one bee that I see roaming around here, and he's hitting the plants right now. The pickling cucumbers are doing really well. I need to get in here and prune them up a little bit because they're running wild in some places. The tomatoes that we had to start over with are doing really well. We're not quite finished pruning these first 2 rows here. These were the newer plants because we lost all of our plants earlier in this. Well, we lost them all. Unfortunate. I'm using a new method for stringing these plants up with these T-posts. These T-posts are roughly every 8 feet apart, and basically all we have here is just a 1 1/4 inch T, and I think this is 1/2 inch conduit. Yeah, it's 1/2 inch conduit, EMT conduit, and each of them are joined with a simple coupling that you tighten down on each one of them, and it does a pretty good job of bearing the weight so far. I didn't do it on those. Those are much taller T-posts, so I'm just using a wire, which is working out pretty well. The upper field is where all the blueberries and blackberries are going to be. We're basically going to allow people to come out and pick their own blueberries, and we'll also have them at the farmers market. So let's head up here real quick, show the blackberries. there's only a few blackberry plants. I'm propagating more now, and I'm going to take some of these first year canes and propagate them in the ground by tip rooting, which is basically just taking this long cane and stretching it down to the ground and burying the tip. And when you bury the tip, roots will actually sprout off of these nodes. See the nodes where the leaves come out? The roots will actually start forming off of that, and in a few weeks you'll have a new plant. And then you can cut the cane right above where the plant's rooting and dig up the plant and transplant it somewhere else. This is the only plant that actually has blackberries on it, and these are huge blackberries. I've gone through and picked a number of them already and ate them. They're delicious, but I'm just not happy with you know, some of the grass. You can see the grass just takes over, and you know, I was out here weeding this quite a bit this spring and early summer, and I just could not keep up. So we'll just have to see. As you can see with landscape fabric, there's no weeds. So all of this is going to be covered in landscape fabric, and we're going to have the blueberry bushes. Basically, I think there's 3 rows of blueberry bushes, and there'll be 2 rows of blackberries for next year. We harvested all the garlic. Didn't get as much yield as I was hoping for, but we got about 100 pounds of garlic, and which is only about half of the actual cloves that we actually planted. A little surprised. We got 95 plants or bulbs that we dug up, and we planted about 180. So don't know what happened, but at least we got some. We'll just replant those. These blackberry or blueberry bushes are doing really well. I thought they were dead last year, and they were not. They actually survived. A little poke salad here, we don't want that. So basically, that's where we're at. The hydroponic system is doing well, although I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep this system in place. I don't have a really good way to cool this greenhouse. It's very expensive. It's going to be loud in here, but it's very expensive to cool this hoop house. And I really don't want to roll up the sides and take the ends off, because then I have to deal with, you know, aphids or possibly the lettuce worms or the looper, the caterpillars that we get that basically will destroy all of this lettuce. So we just planted out the last batch. All of these stands are full, and some of them are ready to harvest this weekend. They're all in different stages of growth, but you know, the heat in here is just really too much for these plants, and they have to deal with a lot of stress, which stunts the growth. So just not happy with it. It's a very good system. It does produce a lot of lettuce, but I really need a better greenhouse setup, a little bit more of a level greenhouse than the way that this is set up. You can't really tell on the camera, but it actually rises about 8 inches from the front of the greenhouse to the back. So it's a little difficult to keep everything level. But we'll see. We'll see how things are going. This little test bed for carrots and beets is doing well, although it is taking a long time for these to grow. So I don't know if it's stress from the heat or what. I really just don't know. But I'll keep at it. We'll see what happens. Well, that's it. If you like these videos, give us a like. That would be great. Subscribe. And hit that bell notification so you can get notified of the very infrequent videos that I put up. And maybe this Back to Eden garden will do better next year. I'm going to try it one more year. Maybe it just needs to mature a little bit more, but I'm going to keep trying. I don't like to give up on anything. So come back and see us again. I should have another video up soon. I'm working on doing more videos a little bit more often because people do enjoy them and I like to make them. I need to get better at it. I'm not really that great at it, but we will see. And